being able to see someone achieve that dream being from Moncton will kind of show them that, like, no matter where you're from, like, everyone has a different path to success, but it is doable and it's very much achievable. So hopefully, if I don't make it to the PWHL, that there'll be a ton of New Brunswick players in there one day.
Hello and welcome back to Rinkside Rundown, the podcast that brings you inside the world of women's hockey, one story at a time. I'm your host, Chris Sinclair, and today I'm joined by Stephanie Bourque, defender at Union College, who has her eyes set on an exciting new chapter coming up in the PWHL. Stephanie, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. Thank you so much for joining me. This is going to be a blast. I've been looking forward to this conversation, so let's dive in. You are a native of Moncton, New Brunswick. What was your pathway to the game of hockey? Did it find you? Did you find it? Where did it all start?
I think it was a little bit of both. So my dad's a big hockey knowledge guy and loves hockey. He's actually a scout for the Quebec Major Junior League for I don't know how many years, like even before I was born. So I think from a young age, to give my mom a break from the kids, from me, my brother, and my sister, he would just take us to the rink and bring us, and we would watch games together. So then my older sister and older brother started playing, and naturally, I wanted to do everything that they did, and I wanted to follow them around, but I just had to be better at them than everything. So I kind of really wanted to be better than my brother. That was the big one for me. So then I kind of followed him around and would kind of train with him a little bit here and there. And I'm sure he thought that I was a pain in the butt a little bit following him around, but I think he pushed me to kind of join hockey, and that's kind of how I found the game. And I think from there, I kind of never looked back. I just fell in love with it immediately.
Do you remember any of those, like those first memories for you? Like, was it a particular game, or maybe it was like skating around with your brother? But like, what were some of those earliest memories that really like solidified this was the sport for you?
I think so. My parents put me in this little like skating clinic when I was like 3 or 4 years old. And I, like, don't remember not being able to skate. I just remember one morning and, like, waking up and thinking I was really good at hockey, and, like, I was like, "Wow, like, I can skate really well." I know that was not the case. My parents tell me all the time that I was not a very good skater to begin with, but I remember doing this, like, little obstacle course where I had to, like, jump over a stick and, like, it was like a race, and then, like, I won the race, and I was so proud, and I was like, "Wow, like, this is what I wanna do, like, if I can win this race, like, I just love hockey, I love to skate." So I think for me, that was, like, that little skating clinic that I would do, like, every Saturday morning at, like, 7 AM that just I fell in love with it.
Wow, built that confidence way early. Look at you, eh?
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Wow, so young but so confident. No, I've always been a great skater, she says. Um, I know that you mentioned that you really your brothers were really that sort of inspiration for you to get into the sport, and certainly a driving factor for you to continue getting better and better. Who were some of those role models maybe for you growing up? Maybe it was in the sport, maybe it was outside the sport. Who were some of those people that inspired you early on?
I think a big one was my dad. I think he's really the one that kind of made me realize, like, what it took to, like, achieve, like, those dreams that I had and kind of that, like, I could go far with it. I think he's the one that really pushed me past my limits at such a young age, and he coached me for, like, more than 6 years before leaving for Stanstead. So, he was always the one, like, behind the bench kind of telling me what to do and kind of what to improve on, what to work on. So I think he's the one that made me realize that, like, if I wanted it, then I would have to put in the work, like, no one else can do it for you, right? So I think he was a big part of, like, my hockey career and kind of wanting to achieve those big dreams, and he's the one that kind of pushed me from such a young age, so I think he's really the one that I looked up to, growing up.
What was that relationship like for the between the two of you? Because I can imagine, like a regular parent kid relationship can sometimes have its obstacles, if we'll call it that. What was it like to then be also pushed and again to be spending so much time with your dad, whether at home, whether at the rink, and of course, as a coach, like that's got to change that dynamic a little bit too.
Yeah, I think honestly, looking back at it, our relationship is so strong because of hockey. I think that brought us together, but I there was a little bit of bumping heads here and there, and I was very much in the wrong,
Yeah.
but I won't admit that to him. So, but I think it was definitely it brought us closer together, and, like, I wouldn't change a single thing with it, and, like, he made me fall in love with the game, and he's part of the reason why, like, I wanna achieve all those dreams is because, like, my parents and especially my dad, they sacrificed so much for me to kind of go to Stanstead and go to college and move away from home, so just being able to give back what they gave me just to be able to achieve those dreams for them as well, I think is really important for me.
What drove you to attend Stanstead? What was it about Stanstead and that program that really was attractive for you as you were looking at your own growth and development too?
Yeah, I think, I had a family friend that went to Stansted and they had nothing but great things to say about it, so I think that initially is what kind of drew me to it, but obviously, like, the hockey program is so well known and so well coached and has a great reputation of kinda getting girls, to that college level and NCAA level, so I think the exposure there, they do so many tournaments that, college coaches go and watch, so I think that was a big part, but also just being able to being from Moncton, it's not a big, like, huge town, so I kinda wanted to keep that like, close family feel, so I think when I visited, like, Stansted, there was only, like, 250 students that went there, and everyone kinda knows you by name, so I think that was a big part as well, kind of making it a home away from home, and I think I fell in love with it immediately when I visited there, just how close everyone was, and just hockey-wise and academically, I knew it would better prepare me for, my next steps, like, in my hockey career, and try to get me to where I would achieve my dreams and things like that, so I think, honestly, Stansted was great for that.
You worked your way into a captaincy role with the team. You left as a team MVP, defensive player of the year. So there's clearly a lot of on ice, off ice growth that you went through during your time there. What did those years, when you think specifically to those years, to that program, to that development, what do you think it gave you as that program gave you as, of course, as a player, but also as a person and as a leader as you're preparing for that next step to the NCAA?
Yeah, I think as a player, like I said, like being surrounded by such a great group of girls every day and being on the ice almost every day is like pushed me to be a better player. And even in practice, it kind of taught me that, nothing was given, everything had to be earned. Like time on ice was earned depending on about like how you practice. So I think it taught me that like no matter what, I just had to show up every day and be the best version of myself as a player. And that obviously helped me out a ton. And I think, like, as a person, being away from home for the first time is was a little scary, and
Mhm,
I kinda had to learn how to do things on my own, right? So, I think just having that level of independence, and I think it allowed me to mature a lot, at
mhm.
a young age, and I think that helped me, a lot as a player, but also as a person. And leadership-wise, there was such a great group of girls, and I had a ton of good leadership at Stansted, so I was able to kind of learn from them and kinda see what worked for them and what might work for me, so I kinda learned that, sometimes actions are a lot more important than words, so I think I'm more of a quiet leader, and I think
Mhm.
that's okay because I think my actions, like, speak for itself, and I think that's really where I kind of realized the type of player that I was and the type of leader that I wanted to be, that it's okay not to be the loudest, but as long as my actions speak for itself, then I should be alright. So I think Stansted really did a good job kinda teaching me those things.
Yeah, and I guess then as well, of course, we've highlighted some of the successes, some of the many successes that you had during your time there, but there's also with that growth, there's also, as there is with everyone, there are those ups, there are those downs, there's those really great moments that you're really happy to talk about, and maybe those difficult moments that are important, but you don't necessarily always want to talk about. But what were some of those moments for you where maybe you had to test yourself, maybe, or maybe you were tested because of maybe it was a losing streak on the ice, and as a leader you had to help the team overcome that. What were some of those moments like for you, again, that have really ultimately helped set you up for your time in the NCAA?
Yeah, I think a big moment for me was my first time away from home. I think um, I didn't get, like, as much playing time as I wanted, and I think that was a bit of a like, a step back for me, and I had to realize to be like, "Okay, like, everyone's gonna have a different role on the team," and it kinda just taught me how to embrace that role and be able to use it as motivation to try to work a little bit harder and to push myself even more in the weight room and things like that, and even though, like, that was a down for me, I wouldn't change a single thing. I think that built me into the player that I am today, and I'm so grateful that it happened, and even if going back in time, if I knew that that would happen my first year at Stanstead, I would still go in a heartbeat. I think it really shaped me into the player and person that I am today. And as a leader, now I can connect with people that might be struggling a little bit, playing different roles that they're not used to. I can kind of have that personal understanding and be like, hey, like I've been there, I've been through it. Like you just have to keep your head down and keep pushing. Like it'll make you so much better for like in the long run. So just being able to connect like that on a personal level with everyone, I think that helps a lot as a leader as well.
Yes, it absolutely does. Absolutely does. So we've talked about or alluded to that jump to the NCAA. Before we get to, of course, your time at Union College, could you maybe talk about what that jump was like for you? Did you feel like you had, I was going to say all your ducks in a row? Did you feel like you were well prepared during your time at Stanstead to make that jump? And of course, there's, things that you are unpredictable, of course, but for the foundation, did you feel like that foundation was built for you there during your time at Stanstead?
I think Stansted really prepared me for NCAA, like for that level, for how fast the game is and how sometimes you have to do everything a little bit faster. I think Stansted did a great job kind of preparing me for that. Obviously, there is still a little period of adjustment, right, in the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but I think like Stanstead did a good job and just even like academically, like just kind of teaching me how to manage my time, being on the ice almost every day and just kind of keeping up with my academics and missing class and it kind of just taught me time management that I carry over with me at Union and I think not going to Stansted, I think I would have struggled a little bit more than I did and I think
Mhm.
Stansted did a great job kind of preparing me and teaching me how to be independent and kind of figuring things out on my own a little bit. So I think that helped me out a ton.
So what was it about Union that you were like, yeah, like this is the place? Was it as it's often like when you get there, it just is. It just feels like home for a lot of people when they first go. What was it for you?
So I didn't visit Union because I committed during COVID and I couldn't travel across the border. So I remember doing like a FaceTime tour and on FaceTime I was like, wow, like this looks really nice, like this is great. But I think honestly, just hearing how well the coaching staff and how well like, to where the program was, to where they wanted to go, I think I just really wanted to be a part of that change. I wanted to be, one of the players that kind of helps the program grow in the right direction into where they wanted to go, and Union obviously is a great academic school and also has that small family feel. And for me, that was really important. I wanted to kind of not be just a number in the classroom. I wanted to connect with my teachers on a personal level. And even like after games this year, like I would get emails from my professors telling me how well we played. So like just having those little connections, I think it means so much and it makes your experience so much better. But hockey-wise, I really wanted to be a part of something bigger than it was. I wanted to help grow a program, and I think obviously Union is head we've done a the coaching staff and every player there has done a great job to kind of take that program to the next level. Obviously, there's still work that needs to be done, but I really do believe that they're in the right direction and they have great coaches that will take them there and even like better players that will take them there. So I think for me that was a big part of why I chose Union. And also the ECAC is such a great league. Almost every weekend, like you're facing like a top 15 team in the nation, right? So no weekend's an easy weekend. And I think for me, like it helped me grow, like develop as a player and kind of seeing other top players, how they play, kind of model their game a little bit, maybe try to play like them a little bit, see what kind of is working for them and kind of take that into my game as well. So I think ECAC, like wonderful league, one of the top leagues, can't go wrong. So really that's what drew me to Union.
Yeah, absolutely underrated. That's for sure. You majored in psychology. When you think about the game and you think of that major and looking at maybe the way that you approach the game, the way that you approach things like competition, pressure as well, of course, being in the sport. How has maybe that changed the way that you look at the game of hockey, that psychology major?
Yeah, I think I didn't realize how like mental the game of hockey was before going into the NCAA, I think. So I think just it's really easy and to snowball after a mistake, and I think I before going into at Union, I was doing that a little bit. So I think it just taught me to, being able to have like a short-term memory. Hockey's a game of mistakes. So just being able, but it's really about like how you bounce back and be like, okay, like, hey, like it happened, it's in the past. Like there's nothing I can do about it now, but just kind of looking to like what I can control and just pressure wise to not look at it as pressure and, like, nervous, but kind of look at it as, like, excitement just to be like, "Hey, like, I'm grateful to have this opportunity to play the sport
Mhm.
at, like, such a high level. So, like, I'm here for a reason. Like, I put in a ton of work. I know what to do. I just have to go out there and execute." So not seeing it as much as pressure, but just as excitement and, like, having, like being grateful that I am here and, like, playing this, like, such a great sport with, like, a ton of girls that, like, are competing like all for the same thing, right? Like we all want to win. So it's just kind of going back to those small things. I think being a psychology major taught me a lot of things about those.
Yeah, as you were talking, the phrase "pressure is privilege" came to mind, and that was immediately what I started thinking of when you were kind of when you were speaking there for sure. I do. I want to talk about some of the records that you hold within the program, and you'll see why I want to talk about those in just a moment. Of course, there are so many to talk about. You clearly had an impact both on and off the ice with the program, but I did want to speak specifically about two, and that was the fact that last season you became the all-time points and assist leader among defenders in the program's history. And this season, you set a new Iron Woman streak at 141 consecutive games, which is exhausting just to think about. It's just an incredible accomplishment. When you think about those stats, those things together, what do you think that says about both you as a player, of course, that's a big factor here, but also you as a person, because it takes a lot of resiliency and a lot of dedication to be able to achieve those goals?
Yeah, I think as a player, obviously it just shows that, I'm committed to kind of trying to play the right way and I want to make my coaches and my teammates proud and I just want to be involved in every aspect of the ice. I want to be on the ice all the time. If I could, I wish I could. But I want to be involved in every play and I think it speaks to my ability, my offensive ability to try to get
Mhm.
pucks to the net and kind of seeing the ice and putting my teammates in and, like, scoring chances, like, giving my teammates the best opportunity that they can to put the puck in the net. I think that's a big one, but I think as a person, it just shows that I'm extremely competitive and I don't wanna let anyone down, right? So I always wanna play and I think even, like, playing through bumps and bruises and it shows a lot of dedication and just commitment, and I wanted to make the program proud and to make my teammates and coaches proud as well. So just being able to kind of play those games. I didn't even know that, like, that was a thing. I didn't know the Iron, like, Man streak was a thing until, like, the end of the season, and I didn't even realize. I was like, "Wow," like, I played every game in my college career, like, that's really cool, but I didn't see it as, like, this, like, big, like, achievement. It was kinda just keeping my head down and going to work kinda thing.
Yeah, well, I think that, and it's interesting that you mentioned the competitive nature that you have, because of course we mentioned right near the top of the conversation, just how right from an early age, competitive you were competitive then, and just as competitive, if not maybe a little bit more, even now. And I think that just shows that competitive nature, like you said. I love that. Um, Another interesting stat, and you had mentioned the fact that you wish you could have been on the ice more. You wish you could be out there every shift. Well, fun fact, you were actually the second most utilized player in the entire NCAA this season. You averaged more than 28 minutes a game. Again, I'm exhausted just reading that, just thinking about having to be on the ice for half, which I mean, at least half of a game kind of thing, right? What do you think it takes to be able to sustain that over an entire season and be so consistent? Because again, like we've talked about, it's more than just being good at hockey. There's so many other factors. For you, what are some of those factors?
I think for me, it was really just doing like the daily things that would put me in the best frame of mind and in my best physical shape to be able to play like those top minutes. And I think like Stanstead did a good job kind of teaching me how to build my own routine. So kind of just doing like my own lifts, my own speed work, and my own skill work with my coaches, and on top of like our other team lifts in practice. I think for me that just is what worked for me, and I think it put me in the best frame of mind to be to feel prepared and to feel ready to kind of compete every single weekend. And I think it also put me in my best physical shape. So I think just doing the little things daily, and obviously like good nutrition and going to bed early was a big one for me as well. So I think just those little habits, I think it added up and allowed me to play those top minutes to the best of my abilities, really.
Absolutely. Now, we have put off this part of the conversation for too long because I also of course want to talk about an exciting next chapter, as had alluded to off the top, the PWHL and preparing for the PWHL draft, which is coming up, of course. Uh, how I'm going to start off with just how are you preparing for that mentally and taking another step in your career and the excitement? You've seen the excitement around the PWHL. You felt it when it comes to women's hockey in general firsthand, of course, too. How are you preparing for it mentally? Also knowing that you have a psychology background.
Yeah, I think, it's just kinda treating it like any other big milestone, like kind of choosing a college that you wanna go to, or kinda choosing a prep school, or treating it like a big game. I'm just gonna control what I can. So that's just doing the daily things, like the little things every day that puts me in the best frame of mind, and to puts me in the best physical shape to kind of maybe achieve that dream hopefully one day. So I just think it's just focusing on the little things that I can do well, and not letting outside noise kind
Yeah.
of get to me too much, and just believing in myself. I know my family and my teammates and my coaches, they have a ton of belief in me, but I think it's just important to believe in yourself as well, right? So I think it's
Yeah.
just focusing on those little things, and what would like if it's going to happen, it's going to happen, but I can't control the outcome of it.
Do you feel like each one of these steps that you've gone through throughout your career, thinking back to how competitive you were as a kid, being coached by your dad, to Stansted, to Union, do you feel like all of those steps, all of those milestones, as you've said, have set you up to be as successful as possible, while also factoring in you being you, also factor into being ready for this next step? Do you feel like you are?
100%. I think I'm ready, and I think like everything that I've done and everyone that's helped me along the way kind of like have told me as well that, like if like everything happens for a reason, like I've put in the work. I just have to kind of keep putting in the work, and like everything will fall into place the way it's supposed to work out. So I just hopefully that it does work out my way,
Yeah.
but if not, it's not the end of the road there. There's different paths to success, and everyone kind of has their own path. So I'm just trying to create my own path to kind of my goals of playing in the PWHL.
Yeah, and I mean, we've seen, of course, many people they'll go to maybe Europe, they'll play there, they'll also accept invites to camp, and we've seen invites to camp turn into professional contracts too, right? So just because you don't hear your name at the draft, which you absolutely will, but just if even if you don't hear it, then there, of course, are other avenues, and I appreciate that perspective. You had alluded to it just a moment ago as well, but when you think about your own development, when you think about taking this next step, you've seen, of course, firsthand what it takes to make it at the NCAA level. You are also seeing what it will take likely to make it at the PWHL level. How are you also preparing, and what are you focused on physically, as well as your skill set, to prepare yourself to make that big first impression with your new club?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the PWHL, it's playing at such a fast level. Just watching it on TV and like going to games, like you can just see how fast the game really is. So I think a big thing for me, it's just going to be able to like focus on like stick on puck and being able to squash things really fast in the D zone, and then kind of using my feet and being able to create that um separation like skating, and being able to kind of move the puck and hopefully create a little bit of offense as well, kind of
Mhm,
jump up in the play
mhm,
and create some deception at the blue line and taking good shots. I think that's going to be big key part of my game that I'll need to
mhm.
focus on and continue to focus on in the summer, and hopefully going into the PWHL. But you just see how like strong and physical the girls are. So I'm excited for it. I think being physical will help me a lot. I think that's a big part of my game that I can improve on as well. But I think just watching them and how they play, I can learn a ton from them. So just kind of taking those factors and kind of combining it all together, I think that'll should hopefully set me up to playing there one day.
A nice winning recipe there, that's for sure. If selected, you would be the first defender from New Brunswick to play in the PWHL and only the second player from the province to appear in a game. What does that mean to you?
Yeah, I think it means a lot, right? I think Moncton and New Brunswick, it kind of gave me minor hockey and it gave me like the love for the game. So I think being able to kind of achieve like that dream, not just for myself, but for all my teammates and coaches and my family from Moncton that have been supporting me throughout my journey. So achieving them for them as well, and kind of modeling the path for younger girls. When I go coaching in the summer, sometimes I coach girls and they all tell me how they're going to play in the PWHL one day, and I think it's absolutely amazing to see, because like when I was that age, I didn't have that. I couldn't look up and be like, wow, like I'm gonna play like professionally in like the PWHL, but seeing them being like, "Oh, like I'm gonna do it," I think being able to see someone achieve that dream being from Moncton will kind of show them that like no matter where you're from, like everyone has a different path to success, but it is doable and it's very much achievable. So hopefully, if I don't make it to the PWHL, that there'll be a ton of New Brunswick players in there one day.
Do you feel like because I'm so glad that you mentioned that because something that you've said throughout your career, regardless of wherever you've been playing, is that you always want to be inspiring that next generation. That's something that's always been a part of your story, which I think is fantastic. Do you feel any sense of responsibility, especially knowing that you are or could be very well be the first defender from the province and only of like I mentioned only the second player ever from there. Do you feel any sort of responsibility to ensure that you're maybe bringing those values, those East Coast values to the game, and and making sure that you really are being that role model, being that inspiration for that next generation? Do you feel that responsibility?
A little bit. I don't see it as much as like weight on my shoulders or like added pressure. I kind of use it a little bit more as motivation. When I was younger, I played with the guys growing up, and sometimes like I didn't have a locker room to get dressed in, so I would kind of get dressed in like the public women's bathroom.
Hmm.
That was my locker room. So just kind of being able to see girls hockey even just in Moncton, how like far it's grown to like where it was at the beginning to now is like amazing. So I just really want to be a part of kind of modeling the way and kind of hopefully keep growing that and kind of showing them that, like it doesn't matter like where you're from. Again, like I said, it's just like if you believe it, you just have to put in the work, and like it is so doable. So I think just using that as motivation is going to be really good for me, just to kind of keep pushing and keep working hard as well.
All right. We have now arrived at the final buzzer segment of the show, the final segment of today's show. This is going to be a fun, rapid fire way to wrap up the conversation. We are going to start with learning what is your go to pregame meal?
So I don't really have a pregame meal. Really, it was whatever the team would feed me, like I would eat. But
Hmm.
in between periods, honestly, now it's becoming more of like a superstitious thing. I would have to eat, like those apple sauces, the little pouches, like the go-go
Yeah.
squeeze. I
Yeah.
would have to eat one in between every period, and it would be even better if sometimes they have the jokes on the bottom. They have like these dad jokes.
Oh.
Yeah, so me and my teammates, like, would joke around with the, like, jokes on the bottom of the Go-Go Squeeze. So I think now it's just a superstitious thing, but that's always what I eat in between periods.
Okay, good to know. I did not know that there were jokes on the bottom, so that must be something new. Okay, interesting. What is one song or artist that always gets you dialed in on game day?
You know, anything by Nickelback, really. Like, if I have Nickelback, like, playing in my headphones, like, I'm dialed, I'm ready to go. So anything by them really gets me fired up.
Great. I don't care what anyone says about them. That they have bangers. They are great. I love that. Great pick. Great pick. Especially, I feel like especially in the summer. I don't know why, but for me, it's always Nickelback summer cranking. Yeah. So I like that. Great pick. What is something that people might be surprised to learn about you?
Um, Back in the day, I used to be quite the ultimate frisbee player.
Okay.
Yep.
Lots of questions. I will narrow it down to just one. Why did you stop playing, or have you stopped playing ultimate?
I have. I think it got to a point where I kind of had to make a decision between ultimate frisbee and hockey. I used to play both and do both, and I would play in an adult summer league for ultimate frisbee, but and I would play for my province as well. But it got to a point where it was kind of getting too much doing both at like a high level, so I kind of
Mhm.
had to make a decision. And for me, it was no doubt hockey, just because that was like I grew up playing it and I just fell in love with the game. But yeah.
My goodness, that's impressive. Impressive. Last one for you. If you could go back and talk to your younger self about the journey ahead, what do you think you would tell her?
I think I would tell her to just be patient and to trust the process. I think it's really easy to kind of not want to give up, but when times get hard, it's kind of easy to say like, "Oh, like I'm never going to achieve it." But just like be patient, trust the process, like those downs are really what builds your character and kind of builds the hockey player that you become. So just to trust in the process, and everyone has their own different path to where they want to go. So just to be patient, and when the time's right, like it's going to happen.
All right. And that wraps up the final buzzer segment of the show and the final segment of today's episode. Stephanie, thank you so much for taking the time to join the show, share your story. And I cannot wait to cheer you on when your name is called at the PWHL draft. I wish you the best of luck at the draft this next year and throughout your career. I'll certainly be cheering you on. Thanks so much for this.
Thank you.
And if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to like, subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your fellow hockey fans. Your support helps me to continue bringing you stories just like this one from around the world of women's hockey. I'm Chris Sinclair. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll catch you next time on Rinkside Rundown.